this whole place is that this is where Jim's and my grandmother grew up.
And
Sarah, Mary Robertson Pope, who married John Gerald Murray I.
Right.
She grew up here, and it's right across the marsh from cypress trees. They could see each other's houses. You'll get a better view of that in just a minute. Is that clear that far?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say more later. You don't need to be told that that cypress tree's there with the green roof, and Betty's house on the right, and the red roof over there is Oakie's house, and all of that, of course, is cypress trees, and that's what close neighbors they were. In about 1900 to 1906, the first John Gerald Murray was courting the young woman who grew up here, Mary Robertson Pope, and married her in 1906. And that's when the inside of the old cypress tree's house got ruined by the new bride who moved things around. I'm quoting something. There have been at least 3 houses on this site. It's now called Governor's Bluff 50s. It was called Fuller's. It actually was owned by the Michael family, Isaac Jenkins Michael, who had various daughters or daughters-in-law live here. One of the Michael daughters married a Mr. Fuller, and this was Fuller's for a while. And that's one of the houses that got burned down mysteriously during the Civil War, including the one we'll go to next at Jackdaw. So, right after the war, Civil War that is, not the war, Mr. Michael offered the space to another daughter who was married to a pope, Daniel Townsend Pope, and his wife Sarah Michael. And they rebuilt, and here I'm going to pass this around. The top photo on the back of the brown volume is the house that was here second. And pass it quickly, please, because I don't think everybody else has one. It's a very classical looking house. It was built by Dr. Daniel Townsend Pope, and he raised his family here, and my grandmother was one of the ones that was raised here. That house, however, only lasted about 60 years, from 1866 to 1916, and for some reason, a lot of deterioration and rot set in that classical looking house, and they tore it down in 1916 and built this house, which in the 20th century was called Hopkinson's because Sarah Pope married a Hopkinson, and they lived here, you know, most of the last half of the 20th century. Hopkinson's daughter still lives here, Caroline Hopkinson Sams, and her husband Franklin Sams. And we're not going to bother them. We don't want to go inside because it's not the house that grandmother grew up in. This is the 3rd house. She grew up in the 2nd house, which is pictured on that book. And I hope the book finds its way back to me eventually. That's my personal reference copy. Any questions or comments? The main idea is to see how close they are to cypress trees, and they also went to the same church, the Presbyterian church where we were yesterday.
Charlie, I believe brother and sister ended up marrying brother
sister and brother.
And so they became double first cousins.
Absolutely right, yeah. One of the young women who grew up at cypress trees married a brother of Mary who also grew up here. So you had brother and sister married to sister and brother. And our parents' generation, J.G. and Mary and Sarah, were double first cousins to the young people here.
Sarah and Daniel Pope.
Yeah, Daniel Pope, who became Dr. Daniel Pope again. No, the one who farmed here, I think. Now I get the Pope generation.
Yes, Dr. Daniel Pope was the professor at North Carolina State and didn't farm here. His father farmed here.
Yeah, yeah, right. But another brother of the, which one was Dr. Dan Pope, who was that? Yeah, who bought the Middleton property around they're from the same family. I got the generation a little confused.
Uncle Jake's?
Is this the sweet potato house?
Aren't you Jake? Yes.
This
Yeah.
was here.
Yeah,
Land?
sweet potato pull.
Yeah.
House was actually next door, but he grew up in this house.
He grew up in this house, yes, and then a corner of the property is still his